on that side of the world. He came back to the United States, went into teaching, went into coaching, coached and taught at several schools in Arkansas, even wrote a book about it called More Than a Game, I saw. In 1977, he moved to Russellville, began a business that allowed him to travel to more than 40 countries around the world. He joined Rotary, and to list his accomplishments and involvement with Rotary would take longer than his talk today. Just know that everywhere he's gone, he's been a leader. He has not only been the president of every club he has been a member of, he's helped start more than one club. He has participated in national immunization days in India, which is a remarkable achievement. Served as district governor the year after my year. His year was 2009-2010. And today remains extremely active in Rotary, because early this morning, he got up in his car and drove all the way over to be with us. And then he'll drive all the way back to the other end of the state. He sacrificed a day to be with us. His passion is service above self. His passion is Rotary. It is his goal today to talk to us about the importance of membership and what our role is. Welcome, if you will, a good friend of ours, A.C. Moncrief.
Oh my goodness, I'm sitting over saying a little prayer. Lord, please don't let it go down from here. You know, knowing Ray, as long as I have, I told Beverly when she invited me to come over here, I said, nobody wants to follow Ray Keller. Don't do that to me, you know. He's going to leave in a couple of days and go speak to 21,000 people. He's really something. But I do have a deep appreciation for being invited here today. But I've also looked forward to being here because, you know, there's one thing that every single Rotary Club has in common, and it's just good people. Good people doing good things. That's all Rotary really is. You just heard my elevator speech. Just good people. I met so many of you when you walked in here today, and I met a couple of people whose dad was in Rotary, this club, and also their granddad was in this Rotary Club. And I knew coming back here just to this Jonesboro environment was going to be very, very, very special to me, because I spent 10 years of my life in this area, and it's really good. Our objective today is really to stimulate membership. It's really to try to help you grow, to give you some ideas that you might can use that will help you get bigger. Now, I think, and I hope that the member from Club 99 in Little Rock, the distinguished member, won't go back and tell them what I'm going to tell y'all today, because I think if we'll follow some of this strategy right here, you may take your rightful place again. Did you know? So I assume that all of you know this. At one point in your history, you were the second largest Rotary Club in the state of Arkansas, and you were this close to becoming the largest Rotary Club in the state of Arkansas. And so what I'd like to do today is I want to give you a challenge. I really want to give you a challenge. I want you to think about this. I'd like for you to take on the goal of being the best Rotary Club, the number one Rotary Club in the state of Arkansas, in both significant projects and total members. And that's a big dream. And that's a big goal, isn't it, for you? And I suspect there are a few of you in here that'll buy into it right away, but I do know that feeling pretty well. When I was over at, how many of you know where Joyner, Arkansas is? See, I knew I was coming home. I knew I was coming back. I'm in Joyner, Arkansas, right after I get back from the Peace Corps, and I know I'm surrounded by a bunch of good kids that just respected authority and wanted to compete, and they were just good kids, and we didn't have a track program. And I went to my superintendent, and I said, I want to start track at Shawnee. And he said, well, that's fine, Coach, that's fine. But we want you to know we don't have any money. We've got no money for this program. You can start it, but it's not in our budget, and there's nothing we can give you. And I said, okay. So I went out. Folks, you can't make this up, okay? You just can't make this kind of stuff up. You can't even embellish it. I go out, and I'm sitting on the banks of the Mississippi River. And yes, I was drinking a beer. And I'm sitting on the banks of the Mississippi River, and I watched this stick float by. And I picked it up out of the water. That thing was so light. It was just unbelievable, and it just felt so good. And I said to myself, we got our baton. We got our baton. And I took it back to the workshop, asked the people and the craftsmen, I said, can you whittle this thing down and smooth it out and make it and paint it green on one end and gold on the other, and that'll be our baton for track. They said, well, sure. And then I called ASU, and I said, have you guys got any old shoes that you don't use anymore? They said, we've got all you'd ever need, all you'll ever want. You just tell us how many you want, what sizes. Got the shoes. We wore our basketball uniforms as our track uniform. We had no money. We made 2 hurdles to try to practice on, and we made a rut around the football field that we thought was 440 yards. And then I started scheduling some competition for these kids because I knew I was surrounded by good people, good kids. And I said, here's where we're going to run. And we scheduled meets against Germantown, Mendenhall, and all the big schools in Memphis. And we scheduled them West Memphis, any big school around that we could get to, that we could get invited to, and they'd take us and they'd let us run. That's where we went. Now, where do you think we finished? We finished last in most of the events, but not all of them. And every now and then we'd get next to last in something. And we were learning, though. When we were passing our baton, we were learning from what other people were doing, and we were growing. And then we came back to Mississippi County, and we started running against people like Hughes. They don't have a track either. And then we started running against some of these other little schools, and guess what? We're beating them. And I talked to some of the old coaches around. I said, do you think we got a chance at district? We blew them away at district. I said, do you think we got a chance at state? They said, yeah, we think you could. We go down to the state meet in Little Rock that year, and we won the state championship in our first year. In our first year of track, we won the whole thing. It really meant a lot to me. I call my book More Than a Game. And what I'm calling the talk today is More Than a Club. Folks, I'm going to tell you what I'd like for you to do at this time. I'd like for you to look at your table where you're seated, and I'd like for you to all point at the most creative person in your mind. Who is the most creative person that's seated at your table? Would you please point at him or her? Now, if they're pointing at you, would you please stand? Just stand up for a minute. Stand up. Thank you. All right, thank you. Now, you've been honored by your peers for being a creative person. Now, we're going to make this a challenge in order to have some membership. We want to make it fun, I hope, make it clever. What I'd like to ask you to do it by yourself if you can, but if you can't, ask your table to help you. What I'd like to ask you to do between now, and this is going to be our goal between now and the end of the year, I really want you just to make a baton. I don't care where you get it. Go sit out on the banks of the Mississippi River if you want to. But you think about, have you ever seen cows on parade that they did up in Chicago? Have you ever seen any of the artwork that people have put up in different communities, how clever they are and how different they are? I want you to make something different, something clever. If you just get a baton that's got blue on one side and rotary gold on the other, if that's good enough. If you got something, but if you get clever with this, and we know when Halloween comes around, your costumes are always fancy and different and unusual. All I want you to do is make a baton for your table, okay? Make one baton. It's going to be a rotary baton. And then here's what we're going to do, though. Whenever somebody at that table is willing to pick up the baton, and hopefully it'll be the one that created it, when you pick up that baton, your goal, as quickly as you can, is to get one more member, get a member. And when you get your member, you pass that baton to somebody else. And let's see how many times we can pass it around and see how we can make it go. Now, there are ways that you could go quickly to being very, very big. One of them would be to go ahead and start another satellite club. Start an evening club again. I know they started one that didn't make it, and I don't know why. But you start it. People in this group start one. I really believe that and it's a satellite club. It's not a new club. It's a satellite club of this club. And those members are going to count for this particular club. I really believe that the fastest growing club in the world today are the Sunset Clubs. By the way, we have a Sunset Club in Altus, Arkansas, and while it's on my mind, I want to forget. I want to be sure to invite you there. We meet every Monday. If you come in at 5 o'clock, we have finger food and light wine and hors d'oeuvres until 5:30. Our meeting starts at 5:30, and it's always over at 6:15. We're out of there. And we have a good time. You might say we have a special spirit in that club because we do serve wine, but it is a lot of fun. I think you could start, if you would look at starting a satellite club in the afternoon and have some special entertainment to it, I think you could get a lot of members right away very quickly, especially if they're having an affiliation with you. I think your numbers could actually double just doing nothing but that. But there's another way you can do that. Before I leave that, though, I know darn well that there's an element of group right now in the room that are saying, well, we can't do that. All right, that won't work. Now, you may not be saying it to the other people at your table, but you're thinking it in your mind. You can't do that here. You know what I've heard? I've heard when we started the Rotary Club, and I started it in Alma, Arkansas, people told me, you can't do that here. You'll never build a Rotary Club in Alma, Arkansas. And as we began to start and we began to get members, guess what? We had some problems. We couldn't find a place to meet. It got bad. And there was a builder and a guy that worked for the city that said, why don't we just build our own building? And I looked at him and I thought, do you really think you can do that? And they said, sure we can. And so the Rotarians decided to ask for supplies, give us building materials and things of that nature. The city did give us a lot. And we started putting together all these ingredients that it would take to have a nice building and a place to meet. Today there's a $300,000 building sitting in Alma, Arkansas that's a community center. It's a community building in a place where people said, you'll never build a Rotary Club there. You'll never do what he's trying to talk about. You won't do it. I want to tell you that in Altus, now I don't know how well you know Arkansas, but Altus is losing population. When we formed the Rotary Club, and they said, you'll never do that there, you can't do that there. When we formed the Rotary Club in Altus, Arkansas, the population was 817. It's gone down now. In that little community, we now have 28 members. We've consistently had 26 to 30. We have 28 members. 17 of them are Paul Harris Fellows. They've won about every award you can win. The one that touched my heart the most, though, the thing that we did that touched me the most, was really when the tornado came through. If you remember, there was a terrible tornado that wiped out Joplin. You remember that? And that tornado also hit Franklin County. And it wiped out a huge part of that rural area. And it just so happened that I was in New Orleans when it hit. And it just so happened that I'd had breakfast that morning with Shelter Box. Do you know what Shelter Box is? If you do, or I'll define some. Most of you know Shelter Box. It's a tent. It's a tent. It's supposed to sleep about 10 people. And pardon? All right. I'm glad you did. I went in that rural area, and we were taking an inventory of those homes, and there were people there that had lost everything. All they had left maybe was a lawnmower or a toolbox. That's all they had. And yet they wanted to stay on their land and protect their valuables because that's all they had. And whatever they had, they didn't want looters to get it. Well, Shelter Box sent us 49. I went around, I was doing an inventory of who was going to get a tent, who wasn't, who really needed it. Because we didn't have the motels, the homes, the relatives that the people of Joplin had. It's a rural area. And so as we were taking that inventory, I went by one place that was total rubble. And I said, there's no reason to put her name down. She's going to get a tent. Single woman. We go on down to the next place, and that day the temperature was 114 heat index. And I look down there and I see this woman, her white hair in the wind, and she's running, and she's barefooted, and you can see the dust coming up behind her heels. And she's saying, don't forget me. And as she got closer and closer, I could tell she was saying, don't forget me. Folks, that's Rotary. And our club we bonded together during that time because we were putting those tents up and we were meeting those people and we were doing something. We had a project that meant something. That's why people join Rotary. They want to be a part of a project. You got to have projects. And it's not necessarily their responsibility to get the project. It's yours, it's ours, it's each person. Everybody in Rotary ought to have a project that means something to you, that's meaningful. And that way, guess what happens? You become more than a club. And when you do that, you'll understand why people really are attracted to you. Now, you know why I think we don't grow? What my theory of why we don't grow? If any of you are involved in sales, you know that a salesperson does not get paid for the yeses, for the buyers. They get paid for the no's. It's tough to take rejection. It's tough to say, I want you to come meet my friends and be a part of whatever because, first of all, you don't really want to be rejected. It's tough to take the no's. And that's why most Rotarians, in all honesty, don't invite guests or sponsor members. Now I want to ask you something, and you really be truthful. Do you know who sponsored you into Rotary? Raise your hand if you know. All right. Now raise your hand if you respect and appreciate the person that invited you into Rotary. Now, folks, think about those two statements. Now you don't have to raise your hand. But the question is, how many have you invited into Rotary? How many people today respect you because of the gift that you gave to them? You need to be, and this year, every year's theme is wonderful. Every theme. I love every theme that comes out every year. They get to me. My favorite one of all time, Ray, is always going to be my year as governor when our president was John Kenny from Scotland. And, you know, I just loved hearing him say, the future of Rotary is in your hands. The future of this club is in your hands. And it's asking you to be a gift to Rotary. Be a gift to the world. What greater gift could you give than allowing people to meet your friends? Can you really look me in the eye and say you're not surrounded by good people doing good things? That's what you are. Why in the world would you not invite more people to that? Why in the world would you deny people the opportunity to be a part of that? Young people today, I assure you, they look up to you. You may not think they do, but they do. They look up to us. They want the relationship. They want the fellowship. They want the opportunity to have you maybe on their resume as a reference. They want to be around you. They know you're successful. In one way or the other, you're all successful. And they love being around you. Will they ever put that in words to your face? Probably not. But believe me, they're thinking it. Am I right, young people? Thank you. So what's there not to like about Rotary, really? If you think about it, every one of us has got some Rotary moments. I mean, I could give a talk all day just on Rotary moments, things that have touched my life, really affected me, really gotten to me. What are your Rotary moments? Those are the kind of things that you want to share. Now, what I'd like to ask you is to think about, how do you invite people to come to Rotary? The worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is ask someone to join Rotary. I think that's terrible. I don't want to join anything. I'm telling you, I'm not ready to join something else. That connotation, the whole concept of that doesn't appeal to me. So if you go in thinking of that, here's how it could work. Most of you probably have the ability to do this. I've sponsored over 100 people into Rotary. And the way I like to do it is I like to pick them up at their place of work. And I'll say, I'd like to take you out to lunch next week. I want you to meet some of my friends. I think you're going to like them. I hope so. I'll pick you up. Is a quarter till 12 okay? Or do I need to come a little earlier? What's the best time for me to come by? And I pick them up. And then I take them and I say, oh, by the way, we're going to these friends that you're going to meet. They're pretty good people. It's a Rotary Club. You ever been to a Rotary Club? Well, I hope you like it. Our program today is, and I tell them about the program. By the way, I also analyze, why did I invite them to come to this meeting? Because I'm hoping this particular speaker is going to have something that they can relate to and they'll like. And then I've already asked some people in the crowd, do you know so-and-so and so-and-so and so? And do you know this guy? And if they do, I'm going to say, be sure and come up and shake their hand, tell them you're glad to see them there. We're setting the stage. You see where I'm headed with this? All right, now then, once they get in here and they have the meal, and which, by the way, I thought was tremendous. You know, one of the main reasons that people don't come to Rotary a lot of times, they don't like the food, or you don't have good programs. Those are two big deals. I thought your food was fantastic.
Got it covered.
Pardon?
Got that covered.
I think you got it covered too. I didn't have a bite of anything I didn't like. I even liked the dessert. I thought it melted in my mouth. I liked everything. It was good. It was a good meal. And I'm into food. I like that. So you've got a good meal to bring them to, okay? So you bring them in. And they're your guests. And now you leave. You're in the car and you're driving back and you say, did you have fun today? Did you enjoy this? And most of the time they're going to say, yeah. Okay, good. I was hoping you did. would you like to come back again? You want to be my guest again? I'll buy you lunch next week if you want, or the week after. Let me check the program, make sure it's something you'd really like. Would you like to come back again? Most of the time, if they had a good time, they met some people, they're going to say, okay, free meal. All right, so you're bringing them back the second time. Now you're in the car and you're going back. You're leaving. You know what I say to them? John, you really seem like a good person. You seem like you like everybody in the club. There are a lot of good folks in there. I said, what I'd like to do with your permission, I'd like to submit your name to our board and see if you qualify as a member. You know what John's thinking? I know those people in there. I know dang well I qualify. What have I got I ain't got? You know, that's what he's thinking. That's what he's thinking. If they can get in, I can get in. But I'm saying, you want to see if you qualify? Okay. All right, now I've submitted a name to the board, and I come back and tell you did qualify. The next time you come, you got to pay for your own meal. I'm getting out of this thing. You can be a member. But the way you ease into it, I never used the word join. Never did. Never asked them, do you want to join? Then the other thing is, I think you ought to tell every member, what project do you want to be a part of? What is it that attracted you to Rotary in the first place? What is it that you really like the most about Rotary in the world of our projects? What do you want to do? If they don't have one, then you start one. Tell me what's a passion in your life. What would you like to do? There are no bosses in Rotary. And then we'll go through how Rotary, it's from the bottom up. It's never from the top down. You got a project, we'll do it. And if you get 3 or 4 people that want to join with you and help you, guess what? That makes it a little bit better. What if you get 10 or 12? That makes it even better. What if you get half the club? Guess what? You may have found a signature project that we're going to do year after year after year. And so you get them involved in a project. But the key to me is you've got to get a baton and pass it on and keep that dream in front of you. I want to leave you with a thought that's always touched my heart. I read it when I was in college. It was Alfred Lord Tennyson, and he wrote a poem called Ulysses. And in that poem, he's trying to give advice to his son on how to live life and what life's all about. And it's always touched my heart. And in it, he says, I'm a part of all that I've met. And to me, that's really Rotary. You can go anywhere in Rotary. I just got back from Hawaii. I love visiting that Rotary Club out there. I had so much fun. If you ever go to the Garden Island, you need to go to that Rotary Club. There's some fascinating people. One of the women that I met out there, I said, what's your classification? She said, do you know what multi-listing is in real estate? And I said, yeah. She said, well, I invented multi-listing for yachts. I sell yachts. I thought that was so interesting to meet her. That was so fascinating. I'm a part of all that I've met. And yet all experience, it's like an arc wherethrough gleams that untraveled world whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. And that's Rotary. I don't care where you get in Rotary, what you've learned, what projects you've done, who you've met. There's so much more out there. An untraveled world. And the margin fades forever and forever. You can never get to it. It just gets bigger and better because the world is filled with good people doing good things. I'm a part of all that I met, yet all experience is an arc wherethrough gleams that untraveled world whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. How dull it is to pause and to make an end and to rust unburnished as though to breathe were life. How many of us in here are shining in use? How many of us in here would like to shine in use? You really want to be a treasure to your club? Then help it grow. Why don't you think in terms of being the #1 club in the state of Arkansas? You can do it because look where you live. You look at what's happened in Jonesboro. You look at the population you've got, the professionalism you've got, the expertise you've got in so many areas. You look at the examples that are being set all over and all around you. You're in one of the greatest spots in all of Rotary to make something special happen. You're a pilot project for Rotary right now. Be the best pilot project. You can invite people. You can have someone who looks up to you and appreciates you and respects you because you brought them into the world of Rotary. Please get some members. You creative people, make the baton. If I call back up here, and by the way, let's let the contest end at the end of this calendar year. The baton contest is over, December 31st, because you can do anything for a short period of time. If you start this little contest and it works, you may decide, let's go into extra innings. If it didn't work, then, well, I guess you weren't that creative. I don't really believe that. I have felt so good being around you today. If I lived in this area, it would be an honor to me, a treasure to me. It would be something I look forward to every day, to get to come to your Rotary Club. You're a great club. Make it greater. Become the number one in the state of Arkansas. Oh, and I want to give you this. This is a little banner from Altus Rotary. Yeah, we're in a small town, but guess what? It's where the grapes grow best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And likewise, we'd like for you to carry this back with you. We so appreciate you being here today, sharing your information with us, and really challenging us to be the type of club that we can be. We have a great legacy, and we need to continue that legacy.
Let's put number one on this banner.
Thank you so much.